Hey everyone, welcome to the Branding Brain. I'm your host, Vivian Armesto, and today we're diving into a topic that I believe every brand entrepreneur should truly understand: how to move from just being seen to being trusted and ultimately remembered. And for this conversation, I have the pleasure of speaking with Yaneiza Echezarraga, co-founder of Twin Minds Media, a boutique PR and communications agency here in Miami specialized in the US Hispanic and Latin markets. Yanesa brings over 15 years of experience across PR, media, and influencer marketing, working with brands in industries like tech, healthcare, and entertainment. Hi, Yanesa. Welcome to the Branding Brain. How are
Hi,
you?
thank you for having me. I'm doing good, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time. And before we dive in, I just want to say congratulations on winning the Bravo Award for Nonprofit Campaign of the Year in 2025. That's
Thank you.
amazing.
Appreciate
Um,
it.
I'm really looking forward to this conversation because your work is right at the intersection of storytelling, cultural understanding, and trust.
Mm.
And today, brands have more platform and opportunities than ever to show up and communicate, but at the same time, there's more noise, more competition, and shorter attention spans. So in that environment, what actually determines whether a brand captures meaningful attention from the right audience versus just being ignored.
Yeah, so you're right. There is a lot out there, and with AI, there's going to be a lot more coming, a lot of unfortunately misinformation, content that you don't know if it's accurate or not, a lot of noise, as you said. So when there's so much out there, right, people have learned to filter through things
Mm-hmm.
because your brain adapts quickly to what's happening in society. So you're quickly kind of looking through things and seeing what makes sense to you. So I think the question that, a lot of people ask is this for me and why should I care right now? So that's the question brands have to really have the answer for when they're trying to connect to their target audience. And what's going to determine if you capture the attention of your audience or not, I think are three important things. The first thing is relevance is key, right? So when you show up, you need to show up in ways that are culturally relevant. So specifically about, the Hispanic market or multicultural market in general, you know, are you communicating in a way that is culturally relevant? Are you tapping into cultural moments? Are you tapping into community values, right? Into the experience of this community. And this is especially critical when we talk about the US Hispanic market because it's a very diverse market. People that don't know the market might think that it's, very uniform, it's all the same, but it's not. You have people that are from different generations, different languages, in terms of, language adaptation. You might be bilingual or not. You
Mm-hmm.
might be English dominant, Spanish dominant. You're talking also about nationality, right? Where are you from? Are you Mexican, Cuban, Puerto Rican? Where do you live? Do you live in the East Coast, the West Coast, Miami? So
Yeah,
there's so much diversity, right? That you really have to get it right when you're trying to communicate with your audience, because what might resonate and be relevant to someone in the West Coast might not be to
might
someone
not
in
be.
South Florida. So that's why you need people that know the market to be able to say, hey, this is not going to work with, this community in New York. This might work with Texas, people in Texas, but not here. So I feel that that's the first thing. It's, are you being relevant? The second thing is emotional resonance. So this is achieved mainly through storytelling. Are you showing up authentically, right? In ways that connect emotionally? We know that people buy through emotions mainly. So, do you have a strong narrative that really connects with this audience and reflects their truth and their values, right? And you can tell when brands are being fake. It's, that today's consumer is very good at that. So, are you really doing this authentically in a way that you mean to connect, truly with this audience? And then the third thing is clarity. When you have a lot of noise, you need to be able to show up with clarity and straightforward, no complications. Is your value clear to this audience? And are you communicating it effectively? So those are the three things: relevance,
Mm-hmm.
resonance, emotional resonance, and clarity. And basically, to summarize, is you don't want to show up just for the sake of showing up. You want to show up with intention to truly connect and and communicate with this audience and have a relationship more than to just target them. Is, how do you build something that it's a mutual relationship and a two-way conversation, and that your outreach feels
Mhm.
organic and genuine, right? You don't want it to feel like it's a performative, sorry. You don't want it to feel like a performance or that it's fake. You want it to
Mhm.
feel natural and that you truly mean what you say.
Yeah. Based on that, once a brand has a clear value proposition, how do you decide what to prioritize? Whether it's the message, the channel, the angle, to make sure that the strategy you follow actually connects and performs.
Yeah, so I think the main thing is you need to start with your target audience.
Mhm.
That's key because that's going to determine the channel, right? Where are they located? Where do we need to reach these people? And then your message will depend on who the target audience is, but also who you are, what your
Mhm.
brand stands for, right? And that's how you create that connection. But I think mainly is who the target audience is, what you want to achieve, and why do you do what you do? What is your why? What do
Mhm.
you do? What can you offer this audience? I think when you answer those questions, then you can look into what channel they're in, what strategy you should use in terms of, should we use a PR campaign or a social media
Mhm.
campaign? Should we use both? Should we use influencers or traditional media? But that's all going to come after you have really good clarity on who the audience is, where they're spending the time and what your goal is. Like, what are you trying to do here with this outreach? What are you trying to achieve?
Yeah. And in your experience working with U.S. Hispanic and Latin audiences, how important is, we have been talking about this a few minutes ago, we talked about this, how important is cultural understanding when it comes to building trust with a brand, especially here in Miami?
Cultural understanding is everything. Everything because consumers are very savvy. So when
Yeah.
you translate something, people get it. They immediately know you've translated something and you haven't really thought about how to best communicate it or how to do it in a way that is natural to this community. I mean, we've all seen it, right? When we see ads that look kind of weird, and we're like, oh, that's a literal translation. They didn't take the time to
Mm-hmm.
look into the
Yeah,
right
you're right.
word. So I think that's huge. If you don't have understanding culturally, then you miss the mark completely because the community will feel like, okay, they really don't get us. Like they don't know what we're about. So I feel that when I see ads or PR efforts that are
Mm-hmm.
culturally, at the right place, it makes me very happy because I'm like, okay, they did the homework. They know, that this community cares about this, and these are their values, and this is what they stand for,
Mm-hmm.
and they really went there versus doing something generic that is like, oh, this is for all Latinos or this is for all the US, and we're just going to put it in Spanish, right? That can come off the wrong way. It's the same thing when we see ads or just things in general in communication that are written in a specific type of Spanish for a specific
Mm-hmm.
community, right? Let's say the Mexican community or the Puerto Rican community, and then they put it here in Miami. We know immediately that's not meant for Cubans or for Venezuelans. We know that that's meant
Mm-hmm.
for Mexicans because of the words that they use and the way they do it. So I feel that because of that, cultural understanding is key to anything that's going to happen or that the brands are doing in the Hispanic community.
Yeah, it's critical because at the end of the day, it's not just about visibility, it's about building relationships that actually last. Yeah, cultural understanding is critical for
Yeah.
that. So, if you have to advise someone trying to build a strategy that turns first-time customers into long-term advocates of a brand, what are the key elements they should focus on? based on your
I
experience?
think the first thing is be consistent and
Mm-hmm.
deliver on your promises, right? So in this first interaction that you have with a customer, if you don't do that, you already lost the opportunity, right, to make that first impression. So if you say you're going to do something, then you do it. So that consistency is huge for customers because there's so much going on in the world today. There's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of things that are, people feel insecure about. It's just a lot of things happening. So when a brand shows up and says they're going to do something and they come through and they do it, I think that's key for trust for that first experience. Then you have to create an emotional connection, right? So and that's done through storytelling. You should reinforce shared values, identity, anything that connects you emotionally with this audience and this customer that you want to reach. Make them feel like they're part of your story versus that you're selling to them. Three, culturally relevant, what you were saying, being, understanding what's happening at the cultural level is going to help you be authentic in your outreach. It's going to help you be intentional and not seem like you're just doing this to target the audience, but that you truly care about this community. And then focus also on relationship building. And this is basically, how do you engage this audience? How do you turn them from customers to advocates? Is you don't just speak to them, but you engage them, you help them and find ways to make them part of your story, part of your development as a company, as a brand. Maybe there is rewards that you give them or some sort of exclusive access. You reward their loyalty. And I think part of that is how you interact and co-create with your audience versus just speaking to them. How can you engage in a two-way conversation and really build a relationship that turns into a community?
I'm a bit curious. How do you manage that on your agency, in your agency? Maybe um, any experience you may have in the past? Uh,
Yeah, well, I mean, what we do with clients, I think
mhm,
it starts off with understanding what they want to achieve and who they want to reach. Because we
mhm.
do Hispanic marketing, they want to reach the Hispanic community, but then we get more specific into, okay, what part of the Hispanic community do you want to
Okay.
reach, which community? Mexicans, Cubans, Puerto Ricans, maybe three, four communities because it makes sense for all of them. From
Mhm,
there, we look at, okay, what can we do? What's the strategy to reach this community? What type of efforts do we, or initiatives do we do? Do we do an influencer campaign? Do we do media? Do we do radio, TV? Like, where are they spending their time? What media do they listen to or do they watch? Podcasts, right? Or are they on social
mhm,
media? So we kind of that's sort of, or we do events if it's a community that's more like community, just more grassroots and things like that. But it's all going to come from who we are speaking to
mhm,
and who we want to build a relationship with. And then from there, we extract the initiatives we're going to do,
mhm,
the angles. If it's an announcement, for example, that a brand wants to do, we look at, okay, this announcement, who are we, targeting here? No, it's let's say it's the Mexican community. Okay, what matters to the Mexican community? What are issues that they care about, right? And then we craft the storytelling around the announcement and the initiatives around what it is that they care about. Right? Because at the end of the day, even the media, when you go to the media, they will think, why does this matter to my audience? That's the first
mhm,
question they ask, right? They're not interested in promoting your brand. They're not interested in getting you more customers. They're interested in providing value to their audience. So their first question is, why does this matter to the people that we communicate with, to the people that we broadcast, whether it's radio, TV, or any other. An influencer will do the same thing. A good influencer will always say, why would this matter to my audience? Does this add
mhm,
value? And then that's when you as a PR have to say, oh yeah, it matters because XYZ. You have to be ready for that and show it up front because that means you did your homework and you know that this
mhm.
matters to that community. If you don't, then again, it comes off as, well, it really doesn't matter to my community, or the outlet may say, we don't think it's relevant, we don't think it's newsworthy, it's not, doesn't make sense for this community. So I think you have to do all that homework before you go out and you reach out to the media and to influencers. For example, we've done a lot of work with companies that work in the money transfer space, in remittances, sending money overseas. So their key market is Mexican community because they are the number one people that send money to Mexico, right? The other communities, Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Nicaraguans, they're much smaller in size. Mexicans send a lot of money to Mexico. So when we work with this brand, we said, okay, who is your key audience here?
Audience.
Okay, Mexicans number one. I think number two was El Salvador. Number three, Guatemala. So we said, okay, then let's craft a message that makes sense for these communities. And that's what we did. So we had a study, a survey that we did. It was around Mother's Day because that's a huge day to send money to, that's the number one time when people send money back home. And we said, okay, and then the questions that were crafted for the survey had to do with what matters to this audience, right? Are you sending more money or less money? Aside from money, what else do you send to your mother? Is it more difficult to send money now than before? So all things that have to do with their experience. Why are you having issues sending money if you're sending less money? Is it because you're making less money here? You have, the immigration situation. So you kind of craft these questions so that then from that survey you can pull ideas and topics for the storytelling you're going to do, and insights. And then we created after that the whole storytelling for the initiative and a press release, and we went to the media. And but again, it all starts with what matters to this
To
community
the
and
audience.
what's happening now that's affecting them. It's not the same, right? If you were to do the same thing with the Cuban community, the issues might not be the
Yeah.
same. Or, maybe the Dominicans in New York might not have the same issues as the Mexicans. So I feel that that's like the number one thing, or the first step, is knowing who is this for, and why does it matter to them, and from there you can make sure that the brand shows up in a way that is authentic and that really resonates, and it doesn't feel disconnected. It doesn't feel fake, or it doesn't feel like you're, as I said, performing. It feels natural, and it feels like the brand understands your situation. And that's kind of how we go about a lot of, or most of the work that we do.
Yeah, you must know their pain points, their fears, what they feel,
Yes.
what they need. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So in this case, I mean, when we are working with, we do a lot of, most of what we do is media relations, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
help brands get media coverage. So in this case, we always look at that, what you said, the pain points, the values that matter to this community,
Mm-hmm.
their experience at the moment, what are they going through? But then we also look at the media, what matters to the media, right? What's going to make this an interesting story that they're going to cover. Because what happens to a lot of brands is they don't look at this side of things, and they create a narrative and a story that seems very interesting and creative, or whatever, but they're not thinking about, is this newsworthy? So does this matter to the
Yeah.
press? And then when they pitch the story to the media is like, yeah, but like this and that. They ask more questions because they're trying to
Yeah.
see if this matters, or how can they communicate it in a way that is it's relevant. So that's where we come in, where we say, okay, yeah, this survey or this study is great, but you don't have a headline here. You don't have a hook. You don't have something that's going to get the media to cover this. So that's where we go in and we say, okay, how can we marry the two things? How can we make this about what truly matters to this community, but also make sure that we have a headline and information that the media is going to say, that matters. I want to cover that because, it's important that the audience knows that. So that's kind of the bridge that we built between what the brand wants to say, what matters to the community, and what the media wants to cover.
Yeah, you turn it into a win-win for both
Yes,
sides.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Which a lot of brands unfortunately don't do because they're very focused on their product, on their service, right?
Yeah, of
They're
course.
not looking beyond to think, okay, would a producer or would a journalist find this interesting? They're not thinking like that. So when we come in, we're like, no, 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 this shouldn't be presented this way because this doesn't sound credible or this doesn't look, like it's something they're going to care about. So that's when we come in and we say, okay, let's look at it from this side, or let's use this angle to make sure that the media, looks at it and says, okay, yeah, that looks
I'm
interesting.
interested in that.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, Naisa, thank you so much for your time
Of
again. This
course,
has been a really insightful conversation. I believe there's a lot to take away about communication, trust, and building a brand in a more intentional way. So I truly appreciate you being here. Thank you so
of
much again.
course.
And for everyone watching or listening, please make sure to follow and subscribe on the Branding Brain. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.